It's a This Is Why We Get Paid the Big Bucks episode. Welcome to the Fantasy NBA Today podcast, a sports ethos presentation hosted by yours truly, Aaron Brewski, and FSWA Hall of Famer Steve, Dr. A. Alexander. And welcome to our viewers on Twitter and on YouTube. Thank you very much for joining. Today, we're going to have an episode covering some of the toughest decisions going in fantasy leagues right now. We're going to do that by bringing in Mike Barner. He covers all sorts of things, fantasy sports and betting at Roto, Sportsline, RTFS News. Hopefully I got that right. Didn't have a typo there on my side. Apologies. Roto Baller, 4for4 Football, who I think, Steve, you introduced me to them a long time ago. And 2 times FSWA Basketball Writer of the Year nominee, Mike Barner, will be coming in a short minute here. And then before we get into all that good stuff, let's pay some bills. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for all things sports betting. BetOnline has every stat, matchup, breakdown, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games, including the largest catalog of odds on everything from football, MLB playoffs, NHL, NBA, and political props. I feel like that requires a deep dive. And when the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in a game of blackjack or poker. Unwind with one of our over 150 slots. Head to the website today, get into the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline. The game starts here. And for those of you on Twitter, if you want to head on over to YouTube, you can get your questions answered on air. So feel free to go ahead and do that. Before we bring in Mike, Steve, I see the Falcons hat is on. Is there an occasion here? Are the Falcons playing? Well, I guess what is it? It's Friday. Did they play last night? Help me. What's up with your Falcons? Are they losing to Tom Brady in the Super Bowl? What's going on?
Calm down, Aaron. I walked by a chair in my family room and saw my long lost Falcons hat sitting on a chair that nobody ever walks by. So I grabbed it and it's on my head today. That's all I got.
What do you think the over-under is on times you've told me to calm down in, say, the last 15 years?
I don't think it's a high number.
What's high? Like 100?
What do you think? I was going to say 5.
I would say told me to calm down. Maybe 3.
Politely asked you
to calm down. But how many times have you thought it? 511 billion. Okay, let's get to it. Mike, how are you doing? We were talking. You have the most excellent background that we've seen in a bit there. How are things going? How are you holding up during fantasy season so far?
Thank you. Appreciate you guys having me on. I'm looking forward to the season starting on Tuesday. It feels like it's been endless off season here. I can't wait for fire up League Pass. I call that the extended member of my family. I get sad every year when it goes away. So I'm excited to start watching some games that actually matter again.
Yeah, I always make the joke at my funeral, I want League Pass music, please. And I want it to be super loud. And I also want it to come on at an inappropriate time. Like, when the pastor's talking, just have that come on because it just shows up whenever it feels like it. You watch the game, it ends, and then 5 hours later, the music comes on. Let's get to some basketball stuff. Actually, real quick, though, because it's always interesting to get people's path to how they've kind of got to where they've gotten in the industry. For folks who maybe haven't followed your career or just in general, maybe haven't gotten a chance to hear this part of what you've been all about. How's it been for you? Like, how did you get to kind of where you're at? You got a bunch of bylines. That's super cool. How'd you get started?
Yeah, I'm very lucky. I went to college for broadcasting and mass communications. The first place I started writing for was KFFL back in 2007. That is no longer around anymore. I started contributing to RotoWire in 2010. I've contributed to a bunch of places, DraftKings, Sports Illustrated, all the places I write for now. I did it part-time for years, and I started doing it full-time in 2017. So I've been on a nice streak here for a while, covering NBA, Major League Baseball, and the NFL.
Well, let's sort of ease into it because we got some player discussions that I think are on the top of everybody's minds right now. And I want to get really, really deep into that stuff. But, just big picture, now we're a couple of days away from the season start. Who do you think, as you kind of collect the totality of everything that's happened in the last, say, 5-6 weeks, who do you think has been a big, big winner? And who do you think has been a big, big loser over the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, I think a couple of guys that are being drafted outside the top 100 are two of the biggest winners, and that's Andre Drummond and Norman Powell. And that's simply because the stars on their respective teams are hurt. I don't think Joel Embiid's going to play more than 60 games this season. He's already talking about he's not going to play both halves of back-to-back sets. He's already won his MVP. Now he has to win a title. So I could see Drummond starting anywhere from 25 to 30 games. He was awesome as a starter last year for the Bulls. He averaged over 14 points and just under 18 rebounds in the game, 10 starts that he had when Vucevic got hurt. I love him there. And then Norman Powell, I mean, this Kawhi Leonard situation, who knows when he's going to play again. And then when he does come back, who knows how long he's going to last. Other than James Harden, they don't really have anybody who can score. I mean, they got guys like Derek Jones Jr. and Batum. Those are nice role guys, but they need a chucker. And Powell is a chucker. He's not going to be afraid to jack up shots. So those are two guys. They're not necessarily big names. They used to be, especially Drummond. Not anymore, but outside the top 100, I love both those guys.
There's so much there. Kawhi, I once labeled him the worst fantasy pick of all time. It was like 5 seasons ago, and I painfully remember that for reasons of having drafted him quite a bit. But basically, it was the worst pick of all time because, first of all, you picked him I think it was like early first round, mid first round, but then you had to hold him all year because he kept talking like, oh, well, maybe this, well, maybe that. And he's just got this way of dragging it all out. And here we go again. And so, yeah, all that stuff is super fascinating. James Harden's fascinating. Norman Powell's fascinating. Drummond's fascinating. I mean, I'm almost wondering if we get to the point where we're talking about does Joel Embiid play both halves in a game? You know, it's really unfortunate. It is what it is. He's a really big with lots of knee problems. So, I mean, we all know that. What about losers? You think anybody's, obvious, you got anything that's kind of a little bit under the radar as far as like who has kind of just gotten some bad luck this preseason?
Yeah, a couple of guys that I was hoping for better things for the offseason for them is Onyeka and Kongwu. I mean, can we please get Clint Capella off the Hawks so he could play? I mean, he was great. He only had 8 starts last year, but Kongwu averaged just over 16 points, 8.5 rebounds, and 1.6 blocks in those starts. Luckily, last season of Capella's contract, I do not think he'll be back with the Hawks next year. Hopefully, they'll try and trade him as the trade deadlines approaches. That's kind of a nice, big, expiring contract. I was hoping that they would do that before the season started. They didn't, so that's no good for him. And then Tyus Jones, I don't know. I don't understand. Was everybody asleep? How did he get 1 year and $3.3 million? He is a very good player. Now he's on the Suns team that had no point guard. So I like that for Suns perspective. I don't like that for Jones's fantasy perspective because now he's playing alongside Booker and Beal, 2 other guys that are very capable of handling the ball. Last year, he was in an ideal situation for a bad Wizards team where he was just going to play a lot and have the ball in his hands a lot. He's not going to as much now. So I think he's going to see a big drop in both his points and assists.
Yeah, there's a lot there. Doc, any of that peak? Any thoughts over there? You hearing these names? Anything? Okongwu, like you're in Atlanta. Are you fired up on Okongwu possibly breaking through, or are you just expecting more of the same?
Well, first of all, still a little shaken by the fact he's talking about Norman Powell.
Yeah.
I've got him all queued up over here in 30 deep and just praying to God.
On live television.
Oh, sorry. He stinks.
Praying that he's still there when I pick 12 picks from now. So that hurt my heart a little bit, but I appreciated it. Okongwu, I feel the exact same way. Like, why, Clint Capella? Why are you here? And why are you buzzkilling Okongwu for the 3rd straight year? But I'm with Mike. I think after this season, Capella will be gone, and then it will be a Okongwu season. Who else did you just mention? Tyus Jones. I don't think I'm as down on Tyus Jones as you might be. Maybe I should be. For some reason, I just don't foresee Bradley Beal playing in a ton of basketball games this year.
I hope that happens.
Yeah, I mean, he's as they always say, he's an analytics guy's, type of player. There is a lot of injury potential. I kind of think he's going to just sort of trip and fall and be useful this year. So that's good. I mean, he's just got to show up and he'll be somewhat useful no matter what.
Also the Kawhi Leonard stuff. It was really cute and nice of him to tease us all the way up until March of last year. Like, oh look, Kawhi played a whole season. He's gonna have a great finish to his career, and then that went south, and then the Olympics, and now here we are. So whatever.
Well, he's kind of even been talking trash a little bit, pushing back on narrative, and then even talking about his own team. Really, he's got the license too. He's an NBA champion. He's got a great credential, probably future Hall of Famer. He can talk, but it's very aggressive to both talk like that and then be like, I just might not play this year, or whatever I'm going to do. I'll let you guys know way down the line. It felt like Tyronn Lue didn't even know what was going on the other day. So he's doing that shrouded in mystery bit. Let me ask you this, Mike. What kind of leagues are you playing in these days? Are you more of a Roto? I mean, you're Roto Mike Barner on Twitter. So I would assume you're Roto, but, head-to-head's super popular. Which one are you?
Yeah, that was an homage to Matthew Berry when I started my Twitter account, The Talented Mr. Roto. So that's kind of where I got that from. And it happens to be that I write for RotoWire too. So it kind of worked out. I do prefer Roto leagues simply because I think there's more randomness with head-to-head than there is RotoWire. And I maybe it's because I'm crazy and I do this for a living and I watch all the games, but I don't mind making the crazy adds and drops as we get to silly season over the last month to close out a Roto league. I do mind if I'm only in a weekly lineup league. That's another thing I try very hard. I mean, I'm stuck in some of them because that's what some of these industry leagues are, but I hate weekly lineup leagues. I want at least bi-weekly. I want to at least set my lineups on Mondays and Fridays. I prefer daily lineup moves, but I at least want one of those too.
Yeah, the game's really shifted. I was like a staunchly weekly only guy. And now you just have to have that midweek lineup change at minimum.
Yeah.
And I understand people, if you have 1 or 2 or 4 even leagues that you can just dig into and just be in the waiver wire the entire time, I get it. Yeah, that's amazing. It's super fun. If you got 10, 30, then things get a little different. What about strategies? How are you on the upside versus playing it safe side of things?
I don't like taking injury risk guys like Embiid and Kawhi simply because between the injuries that you don't know that are coming and all the rest days, taking a guy who already is coming into the season with injury issues, I want no part of it. I said on our RotoWire podcast this week, but this was before the latest Kawhi Leonard news, that call me crazy, but I'm not taking him inside the top 100. Looks pretty good now because now we've got the news that he's going to be out for indefinitely. But I'm more of the play it safe than to take Kawhi fell to the 4th or 5th round. Maybe I'll take him. Oh, Embiid's dropped to the 2nd. Maybe I'll take him there. I don't want any part of that. There's enough risk already with injuries and rest days than taking already injured guys.
I think Embiid fell to like 28 and 30 deep. And then, with Kawhi, he actually fell to like 64 or something the other day. Yeah. And I was stupid.
No.
Yeah, I did it. And dumb. I did it before the report. And then it was like, It was just like the universe just slapping you upside the head. Like, you dummy.
I'm like Barner, because you're always like, hey, Doc, how far would Joel Embiid have to fall for you to draft him? I'm like to the end. I'm not
like the dumbest question I've ever asked.
Yes.
Hey, Doc, how far does Kawhi have to drop for you to bite? I'm like,
why are you bothering me with such dumb questions?
That's a dumb question.
Sometimes you got to ask them, though. Well, this is hopefully not a dumb question. I love talking with people who are Roto League people because I think Roto's really expanded on the strategy side. It used to be sacrilegious to try to punt anything because you couldn't win a league with a 1. I'm playing with a bunch of ringers in high stakes leagues, and a couple of them actually pulled it off. or get really close. And so, where are you on strategies with Roto? Have you been trying any of that exotic punt stuff, or you just kind of mostly a balanced person? I'm still a balanced person for what it's worth. Where are you
Yeah,
at with
I
the
am.
Roto strategy?
I'm with you. I prefer to be balanced. I don't really want to punt anything in a roto league, like a complete punt, like you said, get a one.
Mhm.
If I'm thinking I'm going to get a 3 or a 4 in it, I'm okay with that. I don't necessarily need to. Oh, I'm going to be, in a 12-team league between the 8 to 12 point range. I think could be the ideal outcome for every category, but I don't want a one. I feel like I got to get at least a 3 or a 4 in every category to have a good chance to win the league.
Yeah, I feel like people are trying to target like a 2 or a 3 somehow. Now they've gotten that kind of dialed into the strategy. I still can't do it. Like it's just too much.
It's
I can't
risky.
do it. What about are you doing any pairings in the first few rounds for your Roto leagues? Have you found anything that you really have gravitated towards that you like?
Yeah, I was really excited, and I'm in the 8 category industry pickup roto league, and I had the 11th pick. If I don't have the first or second pick, I don't want to be anywhere in the middle. I want to be at the end. So with the 11th pick, I was able to pull off Sabonis and Scotty Barnes, which I was thrilled with. That sets you up so well in points, rebounds, and assists, while also giving you some defensive stats and threes from Barnes. I like being at the end. If I don't get Wembanyama or Jokic, which you need the first 2 picks for, put me at the end because I don't like the middle of the first.
That's really tough. I'm finding that I'm in a lot of drafts where I've got middle of the round picks, and normally I'm ecstatic about it. This year, I'm just like, ugh.
Yeah.
That's literally the sound I've been making. Pretty much finding out where my picks are. I've made that sound quite a bit. Okay, let's do some player comparisons because I think these are like top of brain for all sorts of folks. Top 4 picks have been sort of, not even sort of, they have been solidified. They are known to almost every drafter. I haven't seen the top 4 shake out any differently. But what about the Luka versus Shai Gilgeous-Alexander situation? Where have you been falling?
Yeah, I lean towards SGA just because better percentages and more steals. You're obviously taking a big hit in 3 pointers. If you're in a 9 cat league and it counts turnovers, you get a big advantage with SGA as opposed to Luca. I mean, we're splitting hairs with a lot of these guys in the top of the first round, but I would lean towards SGA over Luca.
And if somebody's watching this show for, say, the first time, let's ask Doc, where do you sit on such a question?
Well, I mean, I think it depends on how many top 4 picks I get. Because if I get like 5 or 6 top 4 picks, like 5 or 6 drafts, I'm probably gonna mix it up a little bit, not put all my eggs in one basket. But my general order for the top 4 is Wemby, Luka, Jokic, SGA. And I'm kind of sticking with that. And the fact that I was in an ESPN draft the other day and somebody took Tyrese Halliburton at number 4 and I got SGA at 5. Like, I felt like I won the lottery. But I just like Luka's counting stats. And it goes back to, I think, preference. Like Mike likes the percentages. I like the never-ending PRAs and the better blocks and decent steals and better free throw shooting last year with Luka. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, it feels like there's at least a show topic around the percentages in a head-to-head league. It seems like on one hand, there's an argument to be made. They're just like every other category, and you just got to do as good as you can so you can win the point, And then on the other hand, it feels like there's a lot of on the ground, real life, remembering that percentages didn't matter. And so I think people are sort of battling with that, industry wide, trying to figure out what am I really trying to do in a head-to-head league? Am I devaluing those percentages to the point where they don't matter in a decision like this, or am I going the other way? I think that discussion actually is maybe the best discussion illustrating that point. Good stuff. Okay, so let's check out head-to-head league, of course, because I think in Roto the deficiencies for Giannis Antetokounmpo are what they are. And I don't think you should be drafting him early, but people do. Head-to-head leagues, Giannis or Anthony Davis? Mike, well, let's have you go first.
Yeah, I kind of took this as a head-to-head or points league because, like you said, it's his free throw percentage can just tank you in the category because A, he doesn't shoot them very well, and B, he shoots so many of them. It's a double whammy in that regard. So I would take Giannis if we're doing a points league or head-to-head, simply because I think last year was best case scenario for Anthony Davis. He played 76 games. I mean, yeah, his numbers were great, but how often are you going to get him to play 76 games again? How often are you going to get him to play 70 games again? I wouldn't be surprised if he plays fewer than 70. A lot has to go right. And this Lakers team, I mean, they've got some big names, but what if LeBron or Davis gets hurt early? They could be out of this. The West is pretty deep. They could be out of this. And then the last month of the season, we're not seeing much of Anthony Davis either because he's hurt or LeBron's hurt and they're so far out of it that he's not playing that much. So I feel like Giannis has a higher floor. So he's the one that I would pick.
That's really interesting, Doc. What about you? Like head-to-head, 9-cat, obviously. Where are you going with these two guys?
I had the 5th pick in our draft. I took Anthony Davis. I hate Giannis's free throws. I don't want to lose free throws every single week. I was one of those never Davis guys last year, and then he played in 76 games. So the chances of that happening again, like Mike said, are not great. But I also don't love Giannis's knee flaring up every single year. And, if Giannis goes down for the Bucks, it's no different than Davis going down for the Lakers. I mean, the Bucks are not going to be very good if that happens. I think they're both injury risky guys. I think Davis is much more so, but it's not like Giannis is the epitome of health either. So I'm going to go AD and save my free throws and hope he stays healthy.
There's a couple of elements on the AD side I want to get back to, but shout out to Sam Amick and The Athletic. They had a great article on Giannis and Damian Lillard and everything going on in Milwaukee, and it was great to see it sort of confirm my beliefs that they're going to push all their chips in the middle early and that there might be an expiration date on how long they're willing to do that. And Giannis in that article, and you should go read it. I'm definitely not going to read the article to you guys or anything like that. Sam works way too hard for that. But like basically, he's like grabbing while being interviewed, he's grabbing randoms in the gym and saying, "Hey, did you know that I could be traded?" And it's got this like tinge of seriousness in it. Like they're all sort of aware that their mortality in Milwaukee is definitely on the line if they don't all pull through and make it work. And even the stuff about Damian Lillard was super interesting about last year, some of the off-court personal struggles he was having. That team in a nutshell could either go really well and be the Milwaukee Bucks that, we kind of know and love, or everything could go south. And to your point, Doc, with Giannis's knee, that was a thing I was worried about last year, and it didn't really happen. I mean, it felt like it was kind of on the verge of happening, but then it didn't happen. So Giannis, in these head-to-head discussions where you're punting his deficiencies, I agree. I think the floor is better there. He has his own risk, but it's that risk of what happens in that second 2/3 of the season, or the last thirds of the season, that has me a little bit worried there. Let's switch the gears back to Roto. Anthony Davis has emerged, I think, as almost a consensus number 5 pick, and I wonder if that's because people are so pissed that they're not in the top 4, and they want something that's got upside, and they go, "Hey, he played 76 games last year, and maybe he's going to go for broke." How do you view that on the Roto side, Mike? Do you think that he should be the consensus number 5 pick? Are you taking him there?
I haven't. I can't remember the last time I drafted Anthony Davis. We talked about how risk averse I am. I was in a league. I can't remember if I had the 6th or the 7th pick. It was a Roto league, and I think I took Halliburton over Anthony Davis, simply because I don't want a first round pick who has an injury concern. Hence, another reason why I want to be at the end of the first if I don't get one of the first couple picks. A lot of those middle guys, I mean, even Steph Curry, he gets hurt. That Warriors team is one of the worst in the league. So if he gets hurt early, we might not see him again because they'll be so far out of it by the time he would be healthy enough to come back towards the end of the season. So I haven't drafted Davis in a league, and I have one draft left, and I will not be drafting him in that one either.
Yeah, man, there's some strategy talk going on here. That first round strategy talk. I love drafting in the middle of drafts. It just positions me perfectly to just pluck all over the place. But that gap in the first round is scaring me to death right now.
I'm with Mike, man. I either want top 4 or like 11 or 12. I don't want any of that garbage in between there because I don't like any of those players, from Jason Tatum, who we're going to talk about, all the way down to Davis. Like, I don't want to have to deal with those guys.
Well, let's move to the back end of the first round because I'm going to switch up our order here from our rundown just a tiny bit. I want to ask you, Mike, you had Domantas Sabonis in a draft that you were mentioning, and then Chet Holmgren, I guess seemingly is going to get a boost from this Isaiah Hartenstein news. It feels like it's like the excuse people needed and wanted to go get more Chet in their life. And so where are you, like, if we had to pick between Sabonis and Chet right now, and I'll even push out there that the turnover issue is pretty apparent here, but where would you go between those two players? Has Chet risen up the ranks for you with this recent development?
Sabonis for me, and there's no hesitation. 5 straight seasons, he's averaged 18.5 points, 12.4 rebounds, and 5 assists. He's never been a high usage rate guy, so I don't think the DeRozan addition is going to impact him that much in the scoring department. I just love the consistency that you get with Sabonis. I'm not opposed to Holmgren. I like him, but I'm taking Sabonis over him every time.
And in a 9-cat league, does that just same thing? Just Sabonis all day long?
I just like the crazy number of assists that he can give you out of the center position. I mean, that's why guys like Jokic are such a cheat code, because they do so much for you out of that center position. I like having a guy like Sabonis. I'm not going to ask for my center to get me threes. I know, sometimes that's an attractive target. I would rather they give me the extra boost and assists, because then I can worry about getting scoring guys later and not have to worry about also cobbling together assists.
Now, follow up to that, when that happens, are you just punting blocks at that point? Or are you just out of that?
So as an example, that draft that I mentioned that I took, I started out with Sabonis and Barnes. I targeted Nick Claxton later on in the draft. Another guy that you can target if you do that early is Walker Kessler. He's obviously fallen quite a bit compared to last season, but even in his 23 minutes a game last season, he still averaged 2.4 blocks. So you can get him later on. He's not going to kill you in points or rebounds. He's not a double-double like he was when he was starting at the end of his rookie season, but he'll do enough in blocks where he can kind of help me offset what I lose by taking Sabonis early.
What about you, Doc? How are you on the Sabonis Chet thing?
I'm bothered by the fact that Sabonis doesn't get blocks or steals. It annoys me. Chet was awesome last year. He's going to only get better. Hartenstein's out for 5 or 6 weeks, for those of you who are just catching that breaking news. I'm going Chet.
Yeah, I think in the bet, I was a little. I got a lot of heat on the Oklahoma City Thunder over on their win totals. I think that they are possibly a historic basketball team. Some of the defensive stuff that I saw against the Houston Rockets in preseason, when both teams were really geared up to play that game, it was Houston had like 10 points, and it was the fourth quarter, probably down to 3 minutes or something. And they just had that look of like you're fighting in Mike Tyson's Punch Out, and you just keep getting knocked out. And they're like, what just happened here? And Hartenstein and Holmgren were playing next to each other and looking great. I think in the playoff setting, maybe teams could expose that more, but in a regular season, like I think that they're just going to steamroll. So that I got a little bit bummed out because I went so big on the win totals play there, and you can find that at the Wager Pass. But yeah, that's so the whole point behind that is basically Chet. Whenever Hartenstein comes back, I just think they're going to play together. So there's more value for Chet. I thought Isaiah was being a little overdrafted, understandably so. I think the hype is warranted. He's great. He's one of my favorite players. Been on him forever. But when he comes back, I think he'll be in that same kind of good situation as well. Okay. Is it time? Is it time? No, it's not time. It's not time. Okay.
No, dude, you still have like 4 more matchups.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it's later than normal. Normally we're doing trivia by now. I don't know what Andre's trying to throw a curveball. He's probably researching the world's best trivia question as we speak. Okay, well, let's stay in the back end of the first round. Let's go Jason Tatum and Trae Young. I think I know Doc's position on this, so I'll go to you, Mike. Tatum and Young. Yeah, go for it. What do you got?
I'll lean towards Tatum. I love how availability is a skill. And he's played at least 74 games in three straight seasons. So I like that. He's averaged at least 2.9 3-pointers in 5 straight. Celtics obviously are going to be, their main goal is to repeat. But Porzingis is going to be out till at least December. So it's not like they're going to be able to coast. It's not like that Tatum's going to sit, all these kinds of things to get prepared for a lengthy playoff run. I like Trae Young. With DeJounte Murray gone, his upside goes way up. But I feel like Tatum is a safer option. And again, call me Mr. No Risk if you want. But I'll take the safer option in Tatum than I would Trae Young.
Doc, you've been pretty down on Tatum, I feel like. But
I don't like his aura.
Yeah, it's something about him bugging you. I think it's because he's so safe. You want the that fast sports car you're driving around in.
Well, dude, I mean, we know what Tatum does. He is what he is. Like, there's no ceiling to be reached. We're there. Like, those numbers are not going up. They're probably not going down. Like Mike said, super safe. It's money in the bank almost. But I don't know. I've said this before. I don't know if people who draft Jason Tatum in the first round can win their league. And Trae, without DeJounte and having this chip on his shoulder and wanting to take out revenge on everybody who has dissed him in the past, like, the unknown is exciting to me. And, Trae doesn't get hurt very much. Trae's reliable. To me, I'm Trae every time here.
He's not going to get there this year, but in the past, he's at least had that outside puncher's chance to get into the top 5. And that's, it's not going to happen this year because the top 4 and plus whatever one joins those guys, provided they all stay healthy, of course, he just can't get there. But Tatum is definitely boring, and he's definitely money in the bank. And he's definitely got some weird stuff going on in the MVP realm and stuff we've talked about in the past. I would probably go Trae for the same exact reasons of Tatum's so boring for me that I'm an upside guy. I'm constantly chasing the upside. And so I'll take Trae Young here. Let's go down the board a little bit. Jalen Brunson, I think maybe people were out a little bit. Then the trade happened and people were sort of right back on. I don't think there was too much of a dip prior to the trade, but who knows? Devin Booker is sort of a constant second rounder. I mean, he's been a second rounder, I think, for like 5 years now. So where do you go there, Mike? Are you got Brunson or you got Booker?
I don't have a strong opinion on this one. I like both guys quite a bit, but I would lean towards Brunson simply because I like the Tibbs factor. Brunson's not going to rest, and he's going to play a lot of minutes. So I like that. I think he's got a pretty safe floor. So slight lean. I like both guys. I have no problems taking either. If you wanted to say Booker over Brunson, it's splitting hairs to me on this one.
Doc, you got a strong opinion on this one?
It's not super strong, but I'm a Brunson guy. I want Brunson more than I want Booker. And on my all Jalen team the other day, I got Jalen Brunson and Jalen Williams and Jalen Johnson and Jalen Brown. And I was pretty happy about getting Jalen Brunson, but I was more happy about getting Jalen Johnson and Jalen Williams.
Yeah, I hate to say it because it's very boring. I think I got Booker here. I think that Brunson might have pushed into places last season with the usage and the situation that it's maybe a little too hard to duplicate. I also a little tiny bit worried the Cat's just going to shoot like crazy. Like he just seems like he's ready to shoot. Like and I'm sure that will get reorganized during the course of the year. I'm sure Brunson will have something to say about that. and of course, you want to integrate your new player as early as possible, especially in the preseason. But Cat's definitely out there to shoot. So that's got me a little bit worried about Brunson. So I'll probably take Booker here. And speaking of the devil, Cat rising up the draft boards, understandably so. LaMelo Ball rising up the draft boards. I think just seeing a human play basketball can kind of help a draft stock, right?
I think I know what Mike's going to say here.
Yeah. I have no idea. So, Mike, which one, man?
I'm going to surprise you, Doc.
What?
I don't know why. It might be just my gut. It just came out of it. I had a real hard time with this one, and in the end, LaMelo Ball. I know. You know, I can't be too boring all the time. Then no one will listen to me. So I have to throw a curveball in here once in a while. So I'll go with LaMelo Ball simply because, I mean, his upside is just so crazy. I wish he would stay healthy. I don't know. The Towns thing, the Knicks don't have any other options at center. So he's got to be the number 2 guy on that team behind Brunson. I just feel like if we ever get the LaMelo Ball season and he plays 70 games, he's a first-round guy. And I don't know, even if the best case scenario happens for Towns in terms of health and minutes, I don't think he is a first-round guy. So I'll take a risk. I don't have to take either in the first round. So that makes me a little bit more take a little bit of risk here, Doc. So I had to throw you off a little bit. I'll lean towards LaMelo just to wake people up.
How does this all make you feel, Doc?
Oh, good. I like it. And then now I know that Mike is not a robot. No, I'm just kidding.
No. My settings are messed up. Hold on.
That was a joke. No, it's refresh. I mean, the crazy thing is, I feel like, dude, my voice is so ridiculous. It's
ridiculously good.
Funny for me to listen to. Like, who is talking right now? But it's wild to me to see so many people all over LaMelo Ball this year. Like, people are, like we were talking about, Anthony Davis played in 76 games last season, and now everybody acts like, oh, he's never injured. And now, like, everybody, I feel like, is on the LaMelo train this year. And man, when that thing breaks, it's not gonna be good. I am all in on Cat. Give me the only center in New York. Give me the guy that Thibs is going to play 40 minutes a night. Give me the guy that Brewski is scared is going to shoot all the shots. Okay, I'll take that. And give me the guy that 4 years ago was a top five pick. So
he's going number 1 in some drafts.
LaMelo has burned me bad enough that I'm out. I can't do it anymore. I've got him on a dynasty team. I haven't traded him. I want him to do well, but I'm not going to take him with my second round pick after what we've seen the last few years.
It's crazy to think the therapy that will be required for somebody drafting LaMelo Ball early in the second round because they got excited again. And I did this myself. Like last year, LaMelo Ball, it's like how could he have another crazy freak year where weird stuff happens, he misses the entire. Of course, he's a late first round rank, and then boom, and as it was happening, it was like, oh, maybe I should drop LaMelo Ball, and I just didn't. And I felt stupid all year long, and those teams just got crushed, and that's terrible, right? But here we are. We're gonna do it again. I'm not in on LaMelo this year. I get why people are. And I don't even blame you for doing it. Like he's now, though, I'm noticing he's going in the kind of the front round or front side of the second round. And we're right back where we were, just like a half round different. And then with Towns, I mean, there were drafts probably about 4 seasons ago. He was going number 1 because he had played 82 games for like 4 straight years. People were like, this guy doesn't miss games. Then, of course, he started missing games. And the block shots thing is, to me, that's the thing. Like, can Tibbs just piss him off or something and be like, dude, we don't care about rebounds. Just go out there and block shots and get that number up to like 1.6 or something. Because if he does that, then he's back up into the first round discussion again. Absent that, he's sort of like going to hit that second round number, but with a bunch of injury risk, unless Tibbs and him have some sort of blood agreement that he's going to play through anything and end up like Mitchell Robinson and Derrick Rose and everybody else that Tibbs has coached. Yeah, like literally every other player that Tibbs has coached. My God. Okay, so I think we got everybody's opinion on all of that. We're going to get to some draft trends, Mike's sleepers, and some busts, and we're going to answer some questions from the chat. We're going to do all of that right after Ice Pick in Your Eye Trivia right now, the game that's taking over the nation, the game that Steve Alexander loves so much he just thinks about it all day long and he gets ready for trivia, and he comes in here just ready and rocking to go. Let's see if the trivia question is in. Okay, it's in. Who is the player with the most total steals in the last 5 seasons? Mike, you get to go first. Doc, you get to go second. I am last. We get a tip after each round because, of course, we need it.
Oh, God.
What you got, Mike?
I am the worst at trivia games in the whole world.
Welcome to the club.
So let's see, 5 seasons. I don't know. I'll take a guy who plays a lot. I'll just say LeBron. I don't know. I have no clue.
Actually, I've used this strategy in the past, Mike. It's a good one. It's just throw a name out there and get to the tips.
Right. We use the term trivia loosely. This is like guessing game.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Mike. I want a guy that's played a lot of games. I'm going to say Mikal Bridges.
No, that's a good guess. I like the strategy there, Doc.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess Andre's really good at this. Is Herbert Jones, has he played 5 seasons? I think he's in his 4th season. Really? Just like, is that like the Oscar music playing me off the stage? Just shut up, Bru. Okay. I'm wrong. I get it. I'm wrong. Are we gonna get that tip anytime soon? Apparently not. Mike, you're up. Maybe
it's on the screen, bro.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. I've done this before. This player was traded twice recently. Does that help at all?
Nope. I have
twice recently.
I don't think he was traded. I'll just say I don't think he was traded twice, but I'll say Alex Caruso. I don't know.
I am going Russell Westbrook.
Sigh. I think you're right. No.
Come on.
I'm scared to talk. The minute I talk, he's just gonna X me out. Okay. Traded twice. Steph Curry? No, just kidding. I that threw me off. I'm actually probably better off without the tip there. Traded twice. Who's traded twice? All right, I punt. Yeah, Curry's my answer. Yes, Stephen Curry of he who's the journeyman, Steph Curry. All right, the first trade didn't work out.
Oh, jeez. That's why he was traded twice, probably. You could just,
Andre's spicy today. That's all I gotta say. Andre's spicy, and it's
plays in the NBA. He was drafted, and then he was traded. All right, that narrows it down.
He played in a basketball game once.
I don't know. Marcus Smart. I think he was only traded once, but we'll say Marcus.
Ooh.
I was thinking Marcus Smart.
Yeah.
Ooh,
missed too many games last year. Maybe.
Who was traded twice? DeJounte Murray.
Wow.
Yeah.
Look at that. I see Doc loves this game. He likes to hate on this game, but he loves this game. DeJounte Murray, number 1 at 573. Fred VanVleet, 522. Good job, Freddie. With 5 blocks in a game last year. Matisse Thybulle, 509 at number 3. And I think that's all we're getting as far as the top of the list there. Thybulle, though, I will say, has been in quite a few prop bets on that question. I should have remembered that. But, of course, I didn't. It's hard when the spotlight's on. Okay. Well, let's get to some questions about draft trends. It's, late in draft season. What are you noticing so far? And where are you kind of finding those pockets of value right now in drafts, Mike?
Yeah, well, again, like I said, my favorite thing is to draft at the end of the first round. At the end of the third, beginning of the fourth, Doc, you mentioned it before, Jalen Johnson. That's a guy I'll pull the trigger on right now. I have no problem taking him towards the end of the third. That might be a little bit early. He's going in the 40s, but I don't want to miss him. And then at the end of I've noticed that Drummond is starting to move up. The value that was Andre Drummond with this latest Joel Embiid, my saying before was if you draft Joel Embiid, you have to draft Andre Drummond. Now my saying is just draft Andre Drummond. I don't care if you have Joel Embiid as well. He's starting to move up. So that was one of the guys that I was targeting frequently at the end of drafts that's moving up.
How about this question? Given all of this downward momentum for Joel Embiid, where do you guys think he'll be drafted this weekend? Like a serious question, like so folks can plan for their drafts. Like if you're crazy and you got that dangerous streak in you and you want to draft Joel Embiid, where do you think he's going to go, Mike?
And I'll say second round, maybe because he's a big name. Probably the beginning or middle of the second round is probably where if you want him, you'll probably have to do it.
Doc, where do you think he's going to go?
Embiid?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just over here shattered because Joe Polito took Nas Reed and ruined my day. Embiid's gonna go some drafts. He's gonna fall to early 3, I bet. But most leagues, I think he's gonna go, like 15th.
I want to hear somebody out there who's engineering a way to draft Joel Embiid in the third round that makes sense. That the whole strategy behind it. Who knows? Maybe you're taking Tyrese Maxey in the second round or something, and trying to get the usage all in one bucket. I want to shout out our producer for keeping the tip up on screen. He's been mean to us all day, and when he leaves the tip up on screen, I just got to point that out. Mike, what about busts? What about busts? Who are two guys that you're just thinking are going to bust out?
Yeah, I'm worried about CJ McCollum. His assists already dropped quite a bit last year with Zion Williamson healthy. Now there's another ball handler in there in DeJounte Murray. He has a streak of 9 straight seasons in which he's averaged at least 20 points a game. I think that ends this season simply because of the talent around him in the starting 5. And then another guy I want no part of is Jeremy Grant. This isn't trivia or anything, but here's a fun stat for you. He's played for the Trailblazers for 2 seasons. He's never played past March 12th. He misses the entire last month of the season because they stink and there's no point in playing him and he's out. So I think the same thing is going to happen this year. I don't think we're going to see him. Hopefully they'll trade him, but if they do trade him, he's probably going to take on a severely lesser role with a contending team. So I believe his ADP last I saw was around like 105, 106. No thanks. I'll take RJ Barrett in that range. And I want no part of Jeremy Grant.
That's crazy that's been the case. That it's hard to find a player in any way, shape, or form that just kind of stays in their lane and does the same thing season after season after season. And he's done it in a very weird way. Let's flip the question and say, who are 2 guys that you're high on, your sleepers this season that you think folks aren't really catching on to yet?
Yeah, Norman Powell was the guy that I like the most outside the top 100. I think the Clippers are going to be really bad, really bad. I think their win total is like 37.5 or something like that. I don't think we're going to see much of Kawhi. They're one James Harden injury away from being like as bad as the Trailblazers. What happens if he gets hurt? What happens if he pulls his hamstring and Kawhi's out too? I mean, they're going to be bad. So in addition to Norman Powell, even Terrence Mann is someone that you could consider, later in drafts, simply because there's not enough guys that can score on that team. Someone has to score. So I think the duo of Powell and Mann are a couple of guys that could be providing some surprising value this season.
That's going to be a fascinating seat if that scenario happens, because they don't have the draft pick to play for. I mean, everybody's already making jokes that OKC could theoretically get Cooper Flagg. Sam Presti, everybody. Sam Presti. This has been great, Mike. I hope we can do it again sometime very soon. You guys can follow him at Roto Mike Barner, and you can follow him at a cavalcade of places, just everywhere and anywhere is Mike Barner. RotoWire, Sportsline, RTFS News, RotoBaller, 444 Football, Prize Picks, 2-time FSWA Basketball Writer of the Year nominee. Great work. Thank you for coming on the show. And for everybody else, go to sportsethos.com, Brewski 150 draft tracker, almost an unfair combo right now. Dr. A's My Guys, Rick Kamla's Pop Players, everything's on there right now. Go check out the promo codes that are available for you guys. It's all on right now. Draft weekend is upon us. I'm super excited. I got my first really important high stakes draft. It's an auction tonight. I can't wait. So that's going to be great. Doc, thank you so much for everything that you do. Andre, great job producing. And then I think that's going to do it for us. Do we have any questions from the chat? I'm so sorry. Are there questions from the No? I'm so sorry.
We're going rogue.
I'm always going rogue. Yeah, I don't think so. Or do we?
You just like to make Andre type.
We got questions. We got Yuri. What's up, Yuri? I grabbed Drummond in 123 in the Roto League. Mike and I are in. What's up, Yuri? Got to watch Bitches Be Ballin'. The hot new show out there. And we got, I don't know, was that a question? I don't know. Was that a question? We have a real question. Henny Minnie, would you give up Ayton and Drew for Pascal, Siakam, and Lively? It's a punt build question here. Who's got that one? Mike, you got that one? Would you give up Ayton and Drew for Pascal and Lively?
I would. I guess I'm fine with it, simply because what's going to happen with the Trailblazers? I mean, they're going to be bad. Are we going to run into the same situation where we don't see Ayton at the end of the season? They have young big men. They have Klingon. They have Robert Williams if his knees can patch together for a whole season. So I guess I think Siakam is the best player in that trade. So I think that's the side I'd go with.
Yeah. All right. Doc, do you have an opinion before we get off the air?
I mean, I'm leaning Ayton Drew just because I don't know that Lively is going to be able to coexist with Gafford. I mean, they're just going to eat each other, cannibalize each other. But, what's going to happen with Ayton and the Blazers, nobody knows.
I think Steve has inside information that DeAndre Ayton now owns a snow shovel, and that's why he took that pick. Okay, that's going to do it for everybody here at Fantasy NBA today, presented by Bet Online, a Sports Ethos presentation. Thank you guys for your questions, and thank you everybody for tuning in. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, be well.